سرنگونی رژیم آخوندی لازمه دموکراسی و عدالت اجتماعی در ایران. 31 خرداد 1399 20 ژوئن 2020. کنفرانس بین المللی با حضور رئیس جمهور برگزیده مقاومت. ارتباط زنده با 2000 نقطه در کشورهای مختلف و اشرف سه در آغاز 40مین سال مقاومت انقلابی، روز شهیدان و زندانیان سیاسی، سال روز تأسیس ارتش آزادی بخش ملی.
Struggle, whether it's for a few days or for those many decades. My most heartfelt congratulations. History will be yours. I'm speaking to you today from my home in rural New Jersey. This house stood here when a few kilometers down the road, George Washington crossed the Delaware River and with only a few hundred men suffered upon the British Empire the first great defeat of our revolution. I mention it because all people are tried by history. Mine, the French, the Russians, the Chinese, even ancient people with proud histories and deep cultures like your own do not escape the trials of history. This is now your moment. You're being defined by it. Not only your political system and your country, but like the Armenian people or the Jewish people before you, your very culture. You will be different, stronger, and better for having survived all these years of trial and torment. We all wish that it would have been different. But it was probably naive to believe that all those years of dictatorship by the Shah, by monarchy, were going to smoothly transition into democracy. Still, who would have believed? All these decades, this very scale of the suffering. Now, after all this time, we see more than a glimmer of hope. Things have changed and changed fundamentally. It is not by chance that after all these decades, we're gathered today to celebrate the MEK. It was always going to be. And why? Because we, led by Mrs. Rajavi, failed to compromise. The vision of a free, independent, democratic Iran with gender equality, with opportunity for all people, at peace with its neighbors, with a free, prosperous economy. It was the vision then, it is the vision now. We never took a seat at the table with the mullahs. Under the most extreme suffering and torture, the loss of tens of thousands of lives, beginning in 81, but again in 87 and 88, and continuing now on the streets of Iranian cities. There was never a moment when we wavered or compromised. That's why together today we celebrate not simply this 40th anniversary, but we celebrate what we believe is an ensuing victory that is more than on the horizon. The degree to which the RGC, the mullahs themselves, have been willing to have the Iranian people suffer is beyond what any of us would have imagined. Not only the killing on the streets, the imprisoning of activists, but the economic suffering, the destruction of a great people, their economy. the loss of a generation's economic and political opportunities, was more than any of us would have believed. It doesn't change the end result. All people, no matter how suppressed, in the end, dictatorships always have the same end. But it has made it longer, and it has made your suffer greater than many of us ever would have believed. And still, it's important today to see where we are in this struggle. Martin Luther King once said that the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. Where are we in this anniversary? And where have we been since the revolution was stolen in 80 and 81, the terrible deaths of 87 and 88, the inexplicable appeasement that led to the listing of the terrorist list in the 90s, into the early 2000s? The distance we've traveled, it's important to see the milestones that we have passed. Behind me, behind my shoulder, is a leather horse. He was given to me by Mrs. Rajavi when she asked me to go to the State Department and represent the MEK in a hearing to have the organization delisted from the American terror list. It was one of the low points of this movement. And it's important for you to know something about it, because it says something about her leadership, this struggle, and some of the outrages that we have endured by even people now who are our allies and even secretly wished us well then. For 4 hours in a chamber with State Department lawyers, I laid out the case of why the MEK was a legitimate struggle for human freedom against an oppressive government. And that in that struggle by political means, the organization had never committed a terrorist act, had never done anything to violate international law, and was a legitimate democratic movement for freedom, not unlike those of the great Western democracies, including my own. After 4 hours of presenting evidence, I rested my case. The moderator turned to the State Department lawyers and said, "Present your evidence." Here's what's important for you to know, who have believed in her and this organization all these years. They had nothing. It's not that their argument was weak. It's not just that they lost. They had nothing. The MEK has proudly represented democratic change in Iran from the moment this revolution was betrayed, and will do so until the day that a free democratic government is restored in Tehran. To be in this struggle the 30 years of my participation has been one of the proudest fights of my life. Sitting in this room through all those nights, the deaths in Ashraf, when the Revolutionary Guards, in complicity with Iraqi forces, invaded and murdered people in their beds and hospital gurneys, how we all suffered through. But how through it all, Mrs. Rajavi, and she alone, was presented with the choices. Stay and suffer wounds on the defensive in Ashraf, or move to Baghdad. Go from Baghdad and have our people sent to Albania, where they can organize, fight freely, without fear or terror, but regain the offensive. I watched those decisions being made. And when the history of the new Iranian revolution is written, they will be proud chapters of leadership, not of how we retreated, but how we made the tough decisions to advance, reorganize. In the streets of Tehran today, indeed across Iran, you can see the evidence of the wisdom of those decisions. What were a few protesters are now thousands. People who were disorganized are now organized into cells, organized by the MEK. In every city and street across the nation, with slogans and statements that are coordinated, effective, and bringing momentum to the movement. We went from an organization that was on, wrongly or rightly, in this case outrageously, on terrorist lists across the Western world, to an organization now where Mrs. Rajavi and the representatives of the MEK are welcomed in virtually every capital of the Western world, at the highest levels, where strategies are coordinated with the great democracies, where we share intelligence with the nations of Western Europe and North America, where our policies are coordinated towards democratic change in Iran. The distance we have traveled these decades is almost unimaginable. I know that the burden in this fight has not been equally shared. It never is. It never is in any revolution. And it was never going to be in yours. History does not move on great masses of people in unison rising up. The burden always falls on the few. Not simply Mrs. Rajavi and the leaders of the MEK, but on those of you who come to meetings, go on the internet, communicate with social media to Iran, make financial contributions that may strain your own family's resources. The burden's on you. But that's history. That's how it's always been. Humanity is led by a brave few who put themselves forward. At decisive moments, thousands will follow those few, and then tens of thousands. And then in the final moments, millions. It was never going to be for you to wait until the last moments to be part of the fight. You were part of this for 10, 20, 30, or 40 years. I'm sorry. And some of you paid a price beyond time and money. You've lost people that you loved, sometimes to horrendous deaths, sometimes at young ages, sometimes more than a single member of a family. It has been your burden in history. I can only leave you with that there is a reward, that for generations and generations, as it has been in America and France and Russia and indeed in nations all around the globe, generations will be grateful, will remember, will study, will celebrate what all of you did. To those of you who are new to this struggle, hearing our voices in Iran, I am sorry, but the burden is now shifting to you. It may have started with a few. Mrs. Rajavi may have had to make the tough choices. The few who wrote the checks and went to the rallies may have carried this burden. But there's just so much we can do from our homes in Los Angeles or London or Paris. Now it's your turn. And you're doing it. If you've joined a cell and are coordinating demonstrations in Iran, whether it's painting on the side of a building, hanging a banner, communicating on social media, even speaking with or organizing your neighbors secretly, no contribution is too small. Nothing is too little. And everyone can do something. Everybody can print a leaflet and leave it on the seat of a bus. If one person reads it and it spreads the truth and hope that there is no reason on God's earth why in a time of prosperity one nation lives in economic desperation. Why, when generations around the world are hoping for a better future, one nation has children after children and their children lost to poverty and despair. Why, at a time when democratic awakening around the globe, one nation has to live in this despotic dictatorship by the mullahs. It's your time. Decide what it is you can do. All of us have. I am proud of each and every moment that I was able, even in a small way, to touch the history of this movement. But it's not my country. It's yours. We can all help, but in the end, you have to claim history. To Mrs. Rajavi, I will always be grateful for the opportunity to join this fight. I have admired so watching in times of trial how you have struggled with these decisions and not only saved the movement and given hope to the future, but saved the lives of your people. To all of you who struggle every day, I will be proud all of my life that you allowed me to be part of this. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And let us say again, knowing that soon it is certain, not likely, it is certain to be true. This celebration will be in Tehran. If not this year, the next. And while I believe it will be the next, if it is the year after, we are creating a democratic nation that will last for hundreds, if not 1,000 years. A few months, another couple of years, in the scale of history will not matter. The arc of history bends slowly, but it does bend towards justice. And justice in this case is success and the end of the regime. Thank you all very, very much.
It's a movement and continues to inspire others because of the fight against the despotic regime of the theocracy of Khomeini. Now, this is not the only thing that's going on at the moment, of course, which adds to their struggle. It's the COVID pandemic, which they're at the forefront of trying to help the Iranian people, the resistance. Because here we have a situation where the present regime in Iran continue trying to shift the blame. The latest thing is towards the people of Iran. It's their fault for the pandemic. Of course, it isn't that. And they should be the last people who are saying this, because from the beginning, the start of the pandemic, they denied it was in existence. And then when they accepted that it was, they said it was a minor pandemic and wouldn't last very long. Now they're trying to shift the blame. And what's the consequences of that? The consequences of the price that's being paid by the Iranian people. The figures now on the death toll in Iran are over 50,000 and rising, which places it the third highest level in the world. Now that's the case of the appalling mismanagement of a country by the present regime. Now, you know, what we've got to do is to say, is that atypical of what the regime is about? Well, they've only hung on to power over the last few years in office because of the way they have managed the country. It's been management through torture, by keeping the people, the population down, and continually misleading them about the state of the economy. The Iran, which is one of the richest countries in the world, is now in a dire state economically. And it is the fault of the present mismanagement of the present government. Now, I have no hesitation in paying tribute to those martyrs who have suffered and are continuing to suffer in the struggle for a free Iran. So I call on politicians, scholars, academics, trade unionists, wherever they may be, all decent people throughout the world, to say no to appeasement and yes to a free Iran.
I want to take this opportunity on the eve of your celebration of the Day of Martyrs and Political Prisoners to express my solidarity with the Iranian people and my support for the organised opposition to the religious dictatorship in Iran led by NCRI President-elect Mrs. Maryam Rajavi. I also want to congratulate you, the brave people of Iran, for 39 years of resistance led by the PMOI and the NCRI against a brutal tyranny that have stolen and destroyed your country. You have enormous personal sacrifices and face being persecuted and the vicious persecution from the government. I want to say that we hear you, we see you, and your courage is an inspiration to all of us who believe that the regime in Tehran is a menace to the entire international community and world peace. You are leading the way. And myself and many other parliamentarians are honoured to stand with you, the Iranian people, and with your just resistance movement in pursuit of your fundamental rights and freedoms. I wish you every success, and I and many other members of the United Kingdom Parliament stand shoulder to shoulder with you in combating the regime of the mullahs. So let us hope that next time we can meet in a free Iran in Tehran. Victory to the people. Jose, Jose, Jose.
Bonjour. Depuis plusieurs années maintenant, le monde est confronté à la politique agressive du régime iranien dans tout le Moyen-Orient et à son programme nucléaire secret. Un récent rapport confidentiel de l'Agence internationale de l'énergie atomique à ses États membres déclare que le régime viole toutes les restrictions de l'accord nucléaire. Le régime iranien n'a pas répondre aux questions de cette agence concernant la présence de l'uranium hautement enrichi. Il n'a pas non plus autorisé des entretiens avec les principaux experts et responsables de son programme nucléaire. Le docteur Heinonen, ancien directeur général adjoint de l'Agence internationale de l'énergie atomique, a déclaré lors d'une récente conférence à Washington que malgré l'accord nucléaire, l'Iran a augmenté le nombre de ses centrifugeuses. Il a produit environ 1 tonne d'uranium faiblement enrichi. Il a ajouté que si les 2000 centrifugeuses étaient rassemblées, le temps nécessaire à la production d'uranium hautement enrichi pour une arme nucléaire ne reprendrait sans doute que de 2 ou 3 mois. Il s'agit certainement d'un sujet de préoccupation pour la communauté internationale. Cela signifie que le Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action est un accord nucléaire hautement défectueux qui non seulement n'a pas réussi à fermer la voie de l'Iran vers l'arme nucléaire, mais lui a ouvert cette voie pour s'en doter. Il a fourni au régime des milliards de dollars qu'il a utilisés pour étendre ses agressions régionales, soutenir ses alliés terroristes et réprimer ses propres citoyens. Par conséquent, j'appelle mon gouvernement à se mettre du côté du peuple iranien et de son mouvement de résistance en adoptant une politique ferme vis-à-vis de la dictature iranienne dans tous les domaines, y compris la question nucléaire et les droits de l'homme.
Als ich das zweite Mal da war, was ihr an neuer Lebensfreude entdeckt habt, wieder aufgebaut habt. Und wenn man fragt, was macht die Ashraf 3 aus? Aus Altem, aus Zerstörten, aus dem nicht mehr vorhandenen plötzlich doch wieder Neues zu machen. Und zu zeigen, eure Kultur ist nicht vom Untergang bedroht. Ich erinnere mich an die blutigen Attacken in Ashraf. Aber eure Widerstandskraft, eure Sehnsucht nach Freiheit, Gewaltlosigkeit, Frieden und Gerechtigkeit war stärker. Die Menschen, die seit so vielen Jahrzehnten in einem System gelebt haben, das keine Freiheit oder nur wenig Freiheit kennt, die zeigen anderen, wir wissen, wir dürsten nach Freiheit. Ich denke, an eurem Leben, liebe Frauen und Männer aus Ashraf, wird eigentlich deutlich, dass wir auf der Suche und Beispiel sind und Beispiele zeigen, wie Männer und Frauen anders miteinander umgehen. Partnerschaft leben, Gleichwertigkeit und Gleichberechtigung leben. Und damit den Frauen in der Gesellschaft einen anderen Status, einen anderen Anerkennungsstand ermöglichen, der lange gefehlt hat und in einer Reihe von Ländern immer noch nicht gegeben ist. Bevor ihr jemanden als einen Mann oder eine Frau anseht, erkennt ihr in ihnen den Menschen. Es geht nicht das starke männliche und das schwache weibliche Geschlecht, sondern beides sind Menschen. Und euer leuchtendes Beispiel ist Frau Rajavi. Denn ihr Hauptziel ist ja Gleichberechtigung, Gleichwertigkeit und gleiche Anerkennung von Frauen und Männern. Und zwar nicht nur in den untergeordneten Positionen, sondern in den Führungspositionen. Verantwortung übernehmen, gestalten und den Menschen zeigen, wir sind nicht ohnmächtig. Die Gleichstellung von Männern und Frauen ist euer wichtigstes Kapitel für die nachhaltige Freiheit und Demokratie im Iran und überall in der Welt. 40 Jahre unermüdliche, wie die Franzosen sagen, Resistance, das steht uns Menschen überall in der Welt an, in unterschiedlicher Weise und Härte. Aber dazu braucht man immer wieder Beispiele, wie ihr sie liebt. Sonst könnte es ja auch nicht in Albanien gelingen. Ich wünsche euch weiterhin Tapferkeit, Mut und Schaffenskraft. Und ich hoffe, wir sehen uns sehr bald.
Dankeschön. حالم که امروز از طرف جوامع ایرانی در آمریکا در این کنفرانس شرکت می کنم و میتونم گزارش کوتاهی از آخرین دستاوردمون در امریکا، یعنی عهدنامه 374 کنگره آمریکا بدم خدمت همه دوستانی که امروز روی خط هستید و به ویژه خدمت مردم عزیزم در داخل ایران. مضمون این قطعنامه که از حمایت هر دو حزب آمریکا یعنی دموکرات و جمهوری خواه برخورداره و توسط اکثریت نمایندگان کنگره آمریکا یعنی 221 نماینده امضا شده، حمایت از طرح 10 ماده‌ای خانم رجوی برای ایران آینده است که به ماده‌های این طرح هم پرداخته شده و همینطور حمایت از یک حکومت جمهوری دموکراتیک غیر مذهبی و غیر اتمی در ایران. این قطعنامه در واقع یک پیروزی برای مردم و مقاومت ایران محسوب میشه. البته این روشنه که سرنگونی این رژیم و آزادی ایران مسئولیت خود ما ایرانی هاست و قرار نیست هیچ دولتی برای ما آزادی بیاره. ولی چرا میگم این قطعنامه یک پیروزیه؟ به خاطر اینکه ما هنوز دوران مماشات دولت آمریکا با این رژیم رو در سالهای گذشته به یاد داریم و فراموش نکردیم که مماشاتگران اصلی ترین لطمه رو به مردم ما در داخل میهن و به پیشتازان مجاهدش وارد کردند. اونها حاکمان تروریست و سرکوبگر رژیم رو میانه رو خطاب می‌کردند و با برچسب زدن مقابل اصلی ترین نیرویی که خواستار براندازی این رژیم بوده ایستاده بودند. اگر امروز درب این مماشات گل گرفته شده، محصول استراتژی درست رهبری مقاومت و فداکاری ها و پایداری مجاهدین و اشرفی ها و همچنین محصول تلاش‌های جوامع ایرانی در اینجاست. پس این پیروزی رو که به رسمیت شناختن حق مردم ایران برای نفع دیکتاتوری مذهبی و برقراری یک حکومت مردمی هست، از طرف جوامع ایرانی در امریکا به مقاومت ایران، به کانونهای شورشی و به مردم عزیزمون تبریک میگم. ما یقین داریم که روز پیروزی نهایی، یعنی سرنگونی این رژیم ددمنش و آزادی و رفاه مردممون، بسیار نزدیکه و برای رسیدن به اون از هیچ تلاشی دریغ نخواهیم کرد. سلام بر آزادی، درود بر رجوی.